Here's a pre-trip of 777. Once again, we're going to start by popping open the hood and checking all the fluids. You come in here to the driver's side door, you're going to find a hood latch down here. Pull that towards you, you hear it pop up. Then if you come around to the front, you pick up on the hood a little bit, you're going to feel a latch in here. Pull that to the right, or to the left, sorry, and push that up. If you look up on the top of the hood, this thing takes 7 quarts of 5W30. It tells you to check the transmission, and it also tells you it takes Mercon LV transmission fluid. Coming around to this side, you're going to make sure that your fuse box cover is on there. You don't want anything corroding. You're going to check your air filter box, make sure that's tight and secure. Check your battery terminals, make sure they're not all corroded and disgusting or loose or anything of that nature. If you come around and look at the front part, you're going to find your oil dipstick right there and your oil fill cap right there. If you look kind of behind it too, you can almost see the transmission fluid dipstick. Looking down the front of the motor, you can see the serpentine belt. It's hanging right there off the alternator. Just take a look in there, make sure you don't see the belt hanging off of any of the pulleys. Make sure it's not worn, frayed, or damaged, anything of that nature. If you look directly in front of you right here, that bar that I'm shining the light on, that's a part of your steering linkage. Make sure that's all nice and tight and not wiggling around a bunch. Right here in front of you, on the top of the radiator, you're going to see the power steering fluid. Make sure that fluid's in between max and min. Right here on the driver's side corner, you're going to find your washer fluid. If you don't see anything in there, make sure you top it off. Right here's your coolant reservoir. Once again, it has to be between max and min. Here's how you fill it. If you go and take this cap off, make sure your engine is cold and hasn't been running, because this is pressurized and this fluid gets pretty hot. If you look right here directly behind it, you're going to find the brake fluid. Once again, make sure it's in between max and min. And we'll move on to checking the oil. So if I set this up a little bit, so once again, it's this yellow ring that you pull up. If you can't break it free, just kind of twist it a little bit, it'll come up. But when you check this, make sure the engine is off and cold. Make sure it hasn't been ran in a little while. You pull it out, you wipe it off, then you stick it back in. Sometimes it'll fight with you. Come on. There it goes. Just make sure it's flush when you put it back in. And when you take it out, now you're looking for the oil level. So you can kind of see it. You'll see it better in person. But the oil level is right here. And if you look, you're going to see a hash mark and 2 punctures. You want it to be up in here, kind of where it was. That's your safe zone. Make sure you wipe it off before you put it back in the hole, because you don't want any debris in your engine. Then directly behind that, you're going to see your transmission fluid. You may not be able to hear me when I check this, so I'm just going to check it cold. It's probably already in the hot zone because I had it running for a little bit to defrost. So, might get a little lucky. When you pull this out, if you can't break it free, just kind of twist it a little bit, it'll come out. I'm gonna have to hold this, so it's gonna be musing for a few seconds. But same thing. When you pull it out, make sure you wipe it off. Then you stick it back in. Just until it's flush. Like so. Then you're gonna pull it back out again. And this time you're checking for your transmission fluid level. So, right here on the stick, come on, focus. You can see that the fluid is just above these little dots. That's good. That's where you want it to be after it's been running. Anything below this, where it says check hot, basically anything below that, you're going to want to top it off until it gets into here. That's your safe zone. Going around the front, we're gonna I'll show you where the fire extinguisher and triangles are. Right in here is your fire extinguisher. It's on the floor behind your driver's side seat. This thing doesn't like to focus today. So there's a little yellow needle in there. Make sure that's in the green zone, and make sure this pin is in the handle. That tells you this thing's ready and operational, and that pin prevents it from discharging on you without you wanting it to. Over on that side, that red box are your triangles. Make sure you have those in your vehicle. If you're coming inside, you're going to find a pre-trip. If you do not see a pre-trip, ask your supervisor or whoever's your district manager or anything like that. They should be able to provide one for you. Your keys should never be left in the truck. There's a red job box in your bed. That's where they should be stored. That's to prevent keys from being locked in the truck. I'm going to stick my key in the ignition so we can check lights. I'm just going to kind of turn it to accessory for a minute. On your door, you're going to see mirror controls. These ones, this would be your right mirror, then your left mirror, and then you can control where you want it to be with those arrows. Take a look at all of your glass, make sure nothing's broken, chipped, or damaged. Check your gauges, make sure all your gauges are working properly. We're going to turn lights on. So this little dial just below your steering column to the left is your parking lights, your headlights, and automatic. We're just going to turn it to headlights so I can show you all the light fixtures. Coming along in front of the steering wheel, check your horn, make sure that works. Up on top of your dash, you're going to see the height is 10 foot. That's with the aero board up. And your GVWR is written right in front of you. That is your weight. This thing weighs 10,000 pounds. Down here is your defrost settings. Here's your universal on and off. Make sure those come on. And then you have heat and AC here. Your beacons are located right here on the dash behind the steering wheel. Give those a flip. Make sure those are on. I believe they're on. We'll check it in our mirrors. Yep, I can see them blinking. And here on your steering column, you're going to find that this dial controls the wiper speed. And pushing this button in makes the washer fluid come out. And then down here on the floor in front of your center console, you're going to see your aero board fixture. When you go through these lights, make sure you go through every setting so that way you can make sure that it's showing what it's saying it's showing right here. I'm going to throw double arrow on to make sure all my lights work. Brake and reverse lights, you're going to have to do with another person. It is safer that way. And I don't think this thing will show reverse lights with the vehicle off. So your parking brake is also located down here, just under your headlights, to check to see if that works. You're going to push this down. I'm believing this thing works because it's kind of hard to push down. You Pull it down until you see that brake light come on right there. And then when you check that, you're going to set your foot on the normal brake. You're going to put the truck in gear. And if the truck doesn't move, that means your parking brake works. It's also going to yell at you a bunch of times telling you that your brake or your parking brake is on. Your seat belt, we should have checked before we opened the back door. So I'm going to close this. Your seat belts are located on the doors. Give that a quick click. If it latches and stays latched, you're good. Same thing with your doors. Open up all your doors, make sure they all latch. So we're going to walk around a bunch of times and check out lights. You have a marker light here on your mirror. Marker light on the side of your headlights, your low beams, and your turn signal. Same thing on this side, low beams and your turn signal. A marker light on the side. You also have another marker on this mirror. Marker and brake light at the same thing. That white light is your reverse light. Make sure your license plate light works. You have one on each side. And right now my aero board is not working. It's got a wiring issue, but my beacons are working. Brake lights, reverse light. Always, also, since I've noticed this when I pulled it in, make sure you're not traveling with your aero board up like that. Only use that aero board up if you are working. These things aren't meant to be driven down the highway with your aero board up. You can rip it off and then it'll do a lot of damage to the bed. So when you put it down, you're going to pull this lever out. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. But you pull this lever out and then you kind of hold it at the bottom and guide it back up. It should be laying flat. So your four ways, I forgot all about the four ways. Those are located right here on the dash. Make sure they come on. You'll see the arrows. And then make sure you can also see them. That four-way is on. That one's on. That one's on. And it'll be the same for each brake light. We're good. And we're good. So you're going to go through all of your lights, all of your turn signals, your reverse light, your brake light, your beacon lights, your aero board lights, your marker lights. Every single light that this truck provides you, you have to check. So we'll go through the list. So we went through all of our lights, mirrors, windshield, wipers, horn gauges, heater, defrost, parking brake, seat belts, loose item, and triangles and fire extinguisher I showed you. Under the hood I showed you all of our fluids and everything we needed to check. Front suspension, leaks, exhaust system. You check your exhaust system when you start the vehicle. You're listening for anything loud, obnoxious, or weird sounding. Your fuel tank cap, I did not do that. Forgot about that, bike. Here's your fuel tank right behind your driver's seat. Make sure that this cap is on and tethered and tight. You don't want anything getting in your fuel tank, and you don't want to lose your gas cap. I didn't do tires. I forgot all about the tires. So, your PSI rating is located right there on each fender. You should have it on all four. Make sure you check your treads. Stick your finger in there. You should be able to come halfway up your fingertip. Your lug nuts are a little harder to check. Your rotors, make sure you don't see them like looking all wavy or anything like that. Check your spring out. Make sure it's not cracked or damaged. Check your shock out. Make sure you don't see any oil down there. Check all your tie rods and your sway bar. Make sure those are all tight. And then look behind your tire to see if you see any oil dripping down from the inside rim. Same concept as the back. Check your tires or your tread. Make sure you can stick your fingertip in there and it at least comes almost halfway up. Lug nuts are a little harder to check because of the hubcap. Make sure your tires are all pumped up. PSI rating right there. Check your leaf springs. Make sure you don't see any cracks. Look behind the tire. Make sure you don't see any axle seal leaks. And your rotor. Make sure you look at your rotor to see if you see anything wavy. Okay. So, we just completed all this list, all of this, and all of this. Now for this, you only need a Class D license, whatever your state provides you. You don't need a CDL. Make sure you have your medical card and proper PPE. This is a shadow truck. It will be somewhere along the lines of pants, steel-toe boots, maybe a high-vis vest, whatever your spray truck driver tells you need. Your toolbox will not be in this truck. It's a shadow vehicle. We don't put toolboxes in shadow vehicles, only spray vehicles. Make sure you get a good night's sleep and your brakes are already adjusted, so you don't got to worry about that. Here's where you put your weight. It matches what's on the dash. And here's where you put your height, once again, on the dash. Here's where you know anything wrong with your truck. And then you get to sign your life away. Okay? Have a good day.